Today's Famicom Disk System game was released in 1987 by DOG. This is what a Famicom Disk System game disc looks like, by the way. Famicom carts came in all colors, but these discs were always as yellow as the DK64 cartridge. Let's boot this heckin' thing up. Any second now. Oh, that must be the Apple. A voice sample. Voices became rather common during the 16-bit era. But on the Famicom, they were quite rare. The girl is saying, "Watashi wa Kiashi, yoroshiku ne?" Mario runs and jumps. Taizo Hori digs and hammers pegs. Ricky Slater stabs people. What does Kiashi do? Is anything more universal than not wanting to get out of bed in the morning? A lot of JRPGs start this way too. In Appletown's story, the player does not control Kiashi. Rather, she walks around performing everyday activities with the flow of time tracked at the top of the screen. Ironically, her pajamas might look better than the frumpy pink skirt she's changed into. I'll do some more video editing later, but I just want to show you now some uninterrupted Appletown action. Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. This is just fascinating. Ah! Yeah, Kiashi also brushes her teeth in the morning. Sometimes Appletown's story cuts to these strange, crudely animated close-ups. I heard of a classical composer who'd sprinkle loud, dissonant notes into his scores to keep the audience awake. This might be something similar. In Japan, people tend to brush their teeth 3 times a day, which is 3 times more than I do. Kidding. I've only had like 6 cavities. At the lower right is the front door, at the lower left the bathroom door, and on the middle story the walk-in closet. The player can never change the view, which is fortunate, as otherwise this could get voyeuristic fast. Let's see if the instruction manual can shed some light on whatever's going on here. Wadoro kanai de kite ne? Jitsu wa kimi no Famicom no naka ni wa... wait, that's right. My audience probably doesn't speak Japanese either. Well, here's my attempt at translating this page. Don't be surprised to hear, okay? The truth is, a little person lives inside your Famicom. Nobody knows the place where the city Appletown exists. We don't understand the reason why, but your Famicom's been linked to one house in Appletown. Right now, 1 girl and 1 cat are living inside that house. In this software, your objective is to observe the everyday things that house hides projected onto your screen and what kind of girl lives in it. It's kind of unusual, huh? Kiashi, by the way, is saying, "I'm the star." I decided, like the stalker with binoculars in the tree across the street from your place, to watch Kiashi for a whole in-game 24 hours, see if anything interesting would happen. Since we've got some time, I should elaborate on DOG, the developer. Oh, looks like Kyashii stepping outside a minute. I'll put up some footage from another one of DOG's games, Suishō no Dragon. DOG stands for Disk Original Group, a collective of Japanese companies Square organized to create software for the Famicom Disk System. Appletown's story, though, I think comes specifically from Square. Doubt Square Enix will be re-releasing this one, though, especially because it's licensed. During the year or so DOG existed, these developers released 7 titles according to Moby Games. Of these, the most popular by far was Tobidase Daisakusen, noted for its impressive 3D scrolling. It came out in North America as the 3D Battles of World Runner. The team behind it later made some obscure game called Final Fantasy. Oh no, Kiashi left the TV on. At 11:05, Kiashi stood by the front door and told me to turn the disc over. What's going on? Yeah, that's right. Kiashi is into divination. Appletown Story offers 3 methods of fortune-telling based off your blood type, horoscope, and choosing playing cards. The instruction booklet dedicates an inordinate number of pages to this topic. Kiashi dresses up in costumes for the different constellations, see? I wish she did that in the actual game. I decided to go with the horoscope. Here Kiashi asked for my birthday. Since that's technically personal information, I've blurred it out. The cat's furious. They got angry at me and refused to tell my fortune for some reason. Yeah, screw you too, kid. When I tried for a second time, Kiashi happily told me my fortune, though she also appears to be flipping me off. She tells me something like, an obedient character comes from your mouth, but you're cautious and have a strong spirit and are able to bounce back from misfortune. And goes on about how I'm an unyielding type and so on. She really goes on and on guessing about my personality and also flips me a double bird. I think she's saying she wants to tell my friend's fortune next time. Do you want to continue the fortune telling? I say yes, even though this is more boring than watching Kiashi walk around doing nothing, since she seems to be having such a great time with it. This time I went with a card reading. I don't know what's going on here. I just kind of hit some buttons. Kiashi says I'll have an extremely lucky day. How nice. I nod along politely while she rants on and on about what my card selections mean, though this is exactly like the horoscope, which is to say complete nonsense. I hope this is just a phase for her. Afterwards, she took her own Famicom out of the drawer. How meta. Come on, Kiashi! You can do it! Frankly, I don't think Kiashi's good at this. Those insects buzzing around must be distracting her. Maybe she's playing Galaga, and the insects were upset with her? They probably buzzed in because she keeps the balcony door open all day and night. Anyway, she's still in a great mood afterwards, but leaves the TV on. I guess she likes hearing obnoxious background noise 24/7. At 12:05, Kiashi seemed to get her lunch out of a cabinet. What is that, curry? You wouldn't keep that in a cabinet. Maybe it's a block of cheese? Well, you wouldn't keep that in a cabinet either. Also, look at the cat's chewing animation. Incredible. See? I told you they brush their teeth after lunch in Japan. At 12:25, Kiashi sat down at her piano. She's an artist. I might call this piano practice, but clearly Kiashi already knows the tune. Not a single flubbed note. As a former piano player, I assure you that you don't reach that level of proficiency without hours and hours of screw-ups. It took me months to get this good at a song, and you start from scratch on every new piece. At 12:40, Kiashi appeared to go to her front door to pick up a Famicom. Even though she already has a Famicom, not sure what's going on here. Sometimes the cat ends up on the roof. Oh no! The cat's jumping! Phew. He's fine. She's fine, maybe? I'm not sure. They say cats always land on their legs, so I guess this proves that. In the instruction booklet and box art, Kiashi's cat assumes a Heathcliff-like anthropomorphic quality, but in the actual game, he's just a cat. I'm not sure why our Neko's eyes seem to vanish every few steps. Perhaps his blinking is slowed down to stuck-in-molasses speed like the rest of Appletown Story. She's a hell of a piano player. This piece is about as different as a song can get from the fugue or whatever it was she played an hour ago. You might be thinking, so is that it? You just watch this Kiashi kid trudge around? Not so. Well, yes, actually, that is the whole thing, but you can interact too. A press of the A button brings up a menu. These aren't commands, however, but more like requests. If she's in a bad mood, Kyashii won't necessarily respond. I selected the telephone icon, causing the phone to ring. Kyashii rushed to answer it. I think the idea might be that you, the player, are giving her a phone call. The box art depicts Kyashii with hearts floating from her head while she talks, so I guess actually her crush is ringing her up? Since Appletown's story was probably marketed towards little boys, the developers might have intended both. Dating games are popular for a reason. I also sent her a letter. She sat down to read through it in, appropriately enough, her reading chair. Seemed pleased with whatever I wrote her. This chair's going to surprise you later, so don't forget about it. There will be tear gas. Since you can't actually give any specific message, sending letters is about as pointless as calling Kyashii. This simulation feels so half-baked. DOG could have at least offered a menu with more advanced communications, like you could tell the girl you're happy, or tell her you'd like her to play more video games. Nothing wrong with watching other people play video games, you know. The developers should have included more interactivity instead of wasting time and disk space on the fortune-telling nonsense. In fact, you could write actual messages in the original Little Computer People. Let's back up. You might have noticed that the full title is Appletown Story, Little Computer People. Back in 1985, when computers were unfamiliar machines that could summon demons, David Crane and Rich Gold designed a video game called Little Computer People for the Commodore 64 and various other computers. Little Computer People would use a serial number to generate a little person to live in a digital house. He would go about daily tasks in a leisurely manner and sometimes write messages to you at his typewriter. You could type messages to the LCP too, give him commands, even play poker. The marketing insisted that the Little Computer People were real and already present in computers, and that the software would just draw them out onto your screen by giving them a digital house to live in. To keep up the fiction, each game featured a slightly different LCP with his own name and personality. Every copy was personalized! Little Computer People was well received for being strange and unusually human software, so it isn't surprising Square would license it for a Famicom adaptation. But Appletown's story loses a lot. Poker is replaced with fortune-telling, and obviously, the character and layout of the house have changed. Since the Famicom was perceived as being for children, I suppose the crew at Square figured Japanese kids wouldn't want to play poker against an adult man, but might like spending time with another kid. At this point, since Kyashii seemed to have been doing fine without my input for the whole day so far, I decided to go eat dinner. When I returned with a bowl of spaghetti, however, I found Kyashii screaming. She'd been yelling at the top of her lungs for a whole 2 minutes before I returned and selected milk from the action menu. Someone's grumpy. Phew, Kyashii looked like she was in a better mood. At 3:45, she settled down into bed for a siesta. At 4, she started screaming again. She was out of cat food. The milk and canned fish is for the cat, and the bell-looking thing is for Kyashii. I interpreted this food sprite as being maybe omu rice or fried rice, but the instruction booklet clears that up. It's a tray with a lid, like at a fancy restaurant. Kyashii lives off carryout, or takeaway as the Brits call it. All of Kyashii's food is delivered to the house, and like with milk for the cat, one of the player's few responsibilities is to keep the deliveries coming to make sure she doesn't run out. If she doesn't have what she wants, though, she'll scream, and nobody wants to hear that. Just like a real child. Compare that to the LCP, who, if denied food and water, would get deeply sick and write you letters in a state of desperation. This is rather disturbing, and would be much more so if it were a little girl going through this predicament, so I can see why Square cut it. Basically, Kyashii is a Tamagotchi. This leads me to the greatest shortcoming of the FDS conversion, which it shares with the cassette versions of the computer game. No save feature! Every new game, the girl loses all memory of you, so you can't really form a relationship with her like you might at Tamagotchi or the original LCP. Huge mistake. It's strange too, since what initially set FDS game discs apart from Famicom cartridges was their ability to record data. Come 6:25, the evening quiet, Kyashii went up to her bedroom to do some exercise. She should consider investing in weights. toe touches. Those can be tough. Is there a term for jumping in a circle like this? I guess kids do weird stuff. After exercising for 15 minutes, Kyashii walked onto her balcony to finally use the easel that had sat there tantalizingly the whole day. Whatever artistic vision Kyashii had, I don't think she finished the picture. After 7, Kyashii put a pot on the stove to boil her dinner. Then she headed upstairs to read until the food was ready. She just sat there, reading in silence, for a half hour, even though the TV was blaring in the same room. Eventually, she went back to the kitchen to eat. You might notice her expression isn't happy anymore. I'd ask why Kyashii doesn't go out to buy her own groceries, but during the months of COVID-19, I empathize with her. Stuck indoors, Kyashii spends her days focusing on hobbies, reading, gaming, drawing. Kyashii was self-isolating about 30 years ahead of time. The teeth brushing never ceases to disturb me. It makes you realize how much more miserable quarantine would have been without the internet. At 8:05, she finally switched off the TV, but for some reason afterwards, she started scowling. I tried sending her food and a letter to cheer her up, but nothing worked. What happened? I don't think I did anything wrong this time. Checking the instruction booklet, whoever wrote the directions about what to do if Kyashii's upset also seems to have been confused. At 9:20, having gotten ready for bed, she rushed upstairs and zonked out immediately. What a good role model for the children. She dreamed about a sailboat. That's right, I can even see into her thoughts. I am God. I wonder if Appletown is on the coast. Hold on, wait a minute. This is Appletown story. Where's the town? In the instruction booklet, Kyashii takes us for a tour. This is Appletown, she says, although you can't go into it on your disc card. Then why is more of the instruction booklet devoted to Appletown than to actually explaining how the game works? The amount of detail is absurd. Kyashii introduces us to the butcher, the fishmonger, a policewoman. Apparently, the cop is friendly, but is kind of unreliable, and fish sales are booming because Appletown has so many cats. We even see the Appletown people celebrating their traditional New Year beneath the apple blossoms. Then Kyashii shows us into her house, which it turns out has tons of lore and secrets. I think this says that if you throw a coin into the vase a certain way, you can make a wish or something. Some of the illustrations are bizarre. Like, here's Kyashii finding Heathcliff dead in the oven. The text says something about drying your cat's hair. Turns out her reading chair is outfitted with a ton of gadgets, including a cup holder, an ashtray, and a hose that fires tear gas. Yes, really. The description indicates the chemical weapons are strictly defensive. The parachute is there in case her house takes off, flies through the sky, and then falls. Even her bed is a lot cuter than I thought, featuring a vanity comforter with Kyashii's own face printed on it. Contrary to appearances, the lamp runs on oil rather than electricity. Apparently at night, a yokai appears and licks the lamp oil up. Yeah, I'm thinking this whole thing is actually pretty scary. Like, where are her parents? These 2 pages feature a colorful spread of the whole cast. Wait, what whole cast? There's just the girl and the cat. Why aren't any of these characters or locations or ideas in the actual game? The real Appletown story is here, in the instruction booklet. I feel like the developers must have been bored enough with the project that they filled the manual with doodles and zany ideas for stuff they'd have preferred to make. Anyway, when Kyashii awoke at 7 a.m., she remained grumpy. She changed into a different outfit than she wore on the first day, a level of realism I had not anticipated. It makes me wonder what else might change if you let the game run long enough. I bet she'd finish her drawing. I meant to quit after 24 hours, like I said, but I didn't want to leave Kyashii in such a sour mood. At 9:30, she started giving me this 1,000-yard stare and gesturing to come closer. I felt like she was about to kill me. She demanded I let her do some more divination, and wanting her to be happy, I agreed. Hoo boy. You might have heard that Square was on the verge of bankruptcy when they released Final Fantasy. If that's true, you can see why they weren't selling many units. For those of you who want your fortune told, there are better methods. There was so much fortune-telling shovelware on the Famicom that Rare even made their own for North America. Oh no! Keep that magnet away from the game disc! You'll kill her! In the early afternoon, Kiashi was so much happier. I feel bad that I ruined her whole day somehow. She went from smiling ear to ear to scowling and walking around with a cold, distant expression. Don't trust me with a Tamagotchi, I guess is what I'm saying. A few months after Appletown's story, Pony released another Japanese Little Computer People port on the PC 8801. I suppose Square had the family computer rights, and Pony the home computer rights. As you can see, this version is much closer to the original, but stars a woman. For some reason, the American version only generated men. Thanks to somebody called Haruo for uploading this footage to YouTube. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about some of the earliest digital pets being, well, humans. Pet humans. If you like this video, I suggest leaving a comment or hitting the like button. You can follow me on Twitter and subscribe too, or else I'll start screaming like Kiashi. None of us want that, so don't make me! I have right now my Let's Play of Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux is going up on my other channel, Mackerel Undercover. In the next Famicom Adventures, we'll be taking a look at a British Famicom game, or NES game, I guess, that makes me dizzy. Have a nice day, be kind, show compassion, bye.